Hello and thanks for staying on LN 24/7. This is Politics Now. My name is Morno Balagbobo. We've got quite a packed show for you. Well, our first conversation will focus on Ondo governorship ticket. Here is a rundown of our talking points. We'll talk about APC's choice for 2024, alleged biased conduct of primaries, and resolving post-primary election tension. Joining us on the show is Honorable Steve Otalaro, APC Chieftain Ondo State. He is the Director of Media and Publicity for APC Ondo State. And our second conversation tonight will focus on the Nigerian economy under Tinubu administration. Here is a run of our talking points. We'll look at efforts to stabilize the Naira, economic hardship despite Naira gains, and much ado about fresh $2.2 billion World Bank loan. Okay, and joining us to make sense of all of that talking point is Dr. Samson G. Simon, economic analyst. He is the CEO, Chair, ARC Economics and Data Limited, financial analyst and economics, global economy watcher with bias for monetary policy, fiscal policy, trade policy, forex policy, macroeconomics, and public sector economics. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Now let's go to Ondo State, where the governor of Ondo State, Aiyedatiwa, has been declared the winner of the APC ward primary and the candidate of the party in the coming governorship election in the state. Aiyedatiwa amassed a total of 48,569 votes in the primaries, while fellow contender Mayowa Akinfolari polled 15,343 votes, with Olushola Oke coming in third position with 14,865 votes. He was declared the winner by the chairman of the governorship primary election committee and governor of Kogi State, Ahmed Ododo. And in the early hours of Monday, he also noted that the electoral process went smoothly with little skirmishes recorded. The Ondo State governor coasted the victory in 16 of the 18 local government areas, losing out on Ilaje local government area to third place. Okay, well, let's listen to what the umpire of the election had to say.
By the power conferred on the committee and in line with the APC guidelines for the nomination of candidates of the party in the general election, I, Ahmed Usman Ododo, the executive governor of Kogi State and the chairman of the committee and the returning officer of the Ondo State APC governorship primary election held on the 20th day of April 2024, hereby declare that Lucky Orimisan Aiyedatiwa, having satisfied the requirement of the law and scored the highest number of lawful votes cast in the direct primary election conducted on the 20th day of April 2024 in Ondo State, is hereby returned elected, and he is declared the winner of the Ondo State APC governorship primary election in this day, 20th day of April 2024. And in accordance with Section 84, subsection 4C of the Electoral Act 2022, the nomination of the candidates with the highest numbers of votes shall be ratified by a special Congress by members of the party in the state as the governorship candidate of APC in the November 2024 governorship election in Ondo State. The said ratification shall take place immediately after this declaration at Sita Adekunle Ajasin Road, Akure. Congratulations, thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
Congratulations to Governor Aiyedatiwa, but we have to talk about the drama and all the tension that ensued before a winner was finally elected. Now, there were reported incidents of violence that made the election in Federal, leading to cancellation of results. Now, some members of the All Progressive Congress of the APC in Akure, the Ondo state capital, took to the streets on Sunday to protest what they termed irregularities in biased conduct of the ward primaries across the state on Saturday. The ward primaries meant to produce the governorship candidate of the party for the November 16, 2024 governorship election in the state was marred with non-availability of election materials in some places, and the protesters called for the cancellation of the ward primaries. The protesters stormed the APC secretariat in Akure to display their displeasure to the alleged irregularities in the conduct of the ward primaries across the 203 wards of the state, and most of them were supporters of one of the aspirants, Olushola Oke, and they carried different placards calling on the National Secretariat to remove the chairman of the primary election committee, that is Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo. Let's take a look at some of the concerns they raised.
People are protesting against their mandate that was stolen yesterday. It was a broad daylight robbery, a monumental disaster. APC sent some delegates here to conduct a primary election. Apparently that was never done. They remained in Akure here at a hotel and start writing results. They wrote the result of 203 wards all across Ondo State, writing the mandate, taking the mandate of the people into their own hands. At the end of the day, we started seeing different results flying around.
What we are saying now is that once there is no election, there cannot be a candidate. In those states now, it cannot triumph. So what we are saying now that the election, the crooked election yesterday stands cancelled. We are saying no election, and our feelings is that it should be cancelled.
In all the 203 wards in Ondo State,
No accreditation.
no whatsoever, nobody at all. Not that they manipulated results. No accreditation, no election anywhere in the 203. I wouldn't know what happened. Our people who were with them at night, Omar Gege came out and said the electoral material will be distributed early in the morning. Our people were already there by 6 in the morning, and they were there till around 10. Nothing was demonstrated. When the governor of Kogi State, Ododo, came out to talk to them, he said the electoral material has been distributed. When? How?
To who?
To who?
Quite a lot of questions there. Well, our guest will be joining us shortly to make sense of some of those allegations. Meanwhile, two aspirants and agents of two other contestants had raised concerns about the conduct of the primary, like you just heard, alleging that based on the conduct of the exercise, plans were made to favor certain aspirants. Who are those aspirants? Now, let's examine the comment from the opposition in the state, the Ondo State chapter of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. They've also condemned the All Progressive Congress's governorship primary election in Ondo State, describing it as an anticlimax and mockery of democracy. The statement was signed by State Publicity Secretary Kennedy Kantu Peretier. The opposition party also alleged that the election did not hold in many of the centers where it was scheduled to hold, and it also claimed that there were reported cases of violence in Akure South, Okitipupa local government areas, where political thugs had a field day. Well, joining us on politics now to discuss the just concluded APC primaries is Honorable Stephen Otalaro, APC chieftain in Ondo State. Thank you so much, Honorable, on the show.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you with us. Now, let's get through the allegations first of all. Talk about misconduct and bias trailing this election in your state. And now, Governor Aiyedatiwa has been declared as the winner. What are some of the things going on in your state at the moment? What's the reaction so far?
We have to congratulate him for putting up a good fight. It's not easy defeating 15 equally qualified aspirants. For him to have done that, even when he came into the fray at the very late hour. He recently opened his campaign office just this month, and most of these aspirants have started earlier before him. For him to have put up a good fight, I think he deserves it. And as a political party, we congratulate him as much as we equally congratulate other aspirants, for their involvement in that contest and for their sportsmanship so far. So we are very happy as a political party, and we're looking forward to November 16, which is the contest itself, the general election.
Now, Akintimewa made allegations that Governor Dodo, the umpire for this election, wrote results to favor Aiyedatiwa. What do you make of this assertion, as even the PDP described it as a mockery of democracy?
No, we won't say that. You won't say that. People who are complaining has reason for their complaint. But no, you will not. You see, people who are complaining have a reason for complaining, basically, because they lost. That's the common ground for this complaint, because they lost. If they've won, they won't be complaining. But to say Governor Dodo have not done a good job, that is an understatement. He has done fantastically well. Within the short time he was named, was able to put up that great contest. I mean, that great coordinating all the 18 local government, 203 wards all together. I think we as a political party, we are standing behind him. It's just unfortunate that he's the one who has to be brought to have done this election. They will still complain. Whoever is in charge, people will still complain. You see, hardly will you see any contest that won't be a spillover. It will snowball into this kind of situation whereby those who lost will always complain. But as a political party, we always find the common ground to bring them to the round table, so that it's better to judge than to war. Governor Dodo have done very well. He has shown capacity regarding this election, and we are happy. Except those unruly supporters of some of these aspirants are the ones who are demonstrating. If you ask any of the aspirants, they will tell you, and they will all know that the governor have done very well. What else will he have done? In the election material, there must be some skirmishes here and there, but it has nothing to do with the committee headed by Governor Dodo. So by and large, we are giving a pass mark from our hand here at the state secretariat in the state. And I want to believe the national secretary will give him the same thing. So he has done very well.
Now, there were also reports that due to delayed materials, some people could not vote. Why did this happen under your watch if you're so confident that Governor Dodo did what he ought to have done?
You see, most of the people complaining, during the revalidation, everybody is aware that you have to revalidate your voter's card first before you could be permitted to vote. Not only revalidating your voter's card, you must have been a financial member up to 1 year. These are the criteria. And if this is not done, you won't expect your name to surface at the voting end. If you can't find your name, that means you are not qualified to vote. And I agree that, you see, the ruggedness of the terrain, especially the riverine area for the state, and these critical ballot boxes left Akure, the state capital, on that Saturday morning. I agree that before you get to some locations, time has gone, and that's the more reason the election was extended to about 5 o'clock instead of the closing period, which is around 2 o'clock. They had to extend it. And this has to do with the material. It took some time before those materials got to all those areas. And if at the end of the day you didn't participate, that means you didn't come to the ballot, you didn't come to vote, or probably you are not qualified to vote. That you are holding that slip doesn't qualify you. There are other criteria you have to go through before now. So that has to do with your issue, not the electoral body. So the electoral body have done everything possible to make sure everyone votes. That is, those who have revalidated their cards, membership card, and those who have upgraded who have upgraded their payment up to a year. Then If you can't find your name at the register, then that's when you can start talking. But most of these people disqualified themselves ahead of the election, and they're complaining. But the good thing is the greater number of those state people voted. Our members in the state voted that day, and you could see the outcome.
Now, Honorable, of course, the people who are complaining, like the clip we just played from those who made these allegations, for some of them, they should be registered, because if you're not registered, you wouldn't even have a claim to say that you were not allowed to vote. But let's move away from that now and talk about what your party, the APC, is going to do to resolve possible crisis that could emanate from this primary that has been concluded. Recall also that the governor has also reached out to his colleagues so that they can work together. The question is, Honorable Stephen, will they work together with him?
Yeah, thank you very much. I agree with you that if not properly managed, it could snowball into something capable of disintegrating the party or making us to lose election come November. And the governor, the winner, have started very well by equally calling on other aspirants, suggesting they are all winners together. And that is a good process he has started. And we are going to take over from there. As a political party, we're going to call other aspirants to a round table and to equally invite the governor. There's need to carry everybody along. If not, this is what our enemies, the oppositions, are just waiting for us to sleep. And then before you know, they take over. That we pray will not happen. That is why this is even more critical than the election itself. Because it's more like a done deal. Whoever takes this ticket is going to win this election. Everybody knows that. That was why this election, they see it as the general election itself. All the gladiators involved, they know whoever wins who eventually becomes the governor of the state. They have almost taken it for granted. That is why we have to opt again as a political party in the state to make sure this does not snowball into a more crisis that will divide the party in any way. All the other 15 aspirants are equally important to the winning of Mr. Governor come November 16th, every one of them. And we're going to make sure to start the process of reconciliation right away, so that we meet with them individually and we meet with them collectively. And together with Mr. Governor, we equally seek assistance from our national body in Abuja, under our national chairman, to wade into this. If it gets out of our own hand, that we could not really reconcile all the parties. And also the presidency we equally intervene. We'll be calling on the president, Mr. President, to equally intervene, because it's one person that is very loved in this state. They love him, they take him, they see him more or less like a mini-god. All the political gladiators in the state, they respect him a lot. And if such personality comes to play, I believe every aspirant will listen to him. This is what we are banking on as a political party in the state, that we'll get over this time, because we know the way things are. If it's not properly managed, it will be a problem. We hope we'll not get to that end of the problem before we solve it very soon.
Now, Honorable, for the sake of your party, I do hope that the reconciliation efforts, proves to be, successful. Well, from the results, Governor Ondo announced, Aiyedatiwa scored about 48,000 to defeat his closest rival, Mayowa Akinfolari, who polled 15,000 plus to come second. Why did you think most of the delegates voted for Aiyedatiwa?
Okay, thank you very much. The people will be in the better position to tell. But one thing I know is that Aiyedatiwa, within this short time, became the governor. I've done fantastically well. Pensions, people who have been on pension for years, he paid it off. The construction project, that started by the former governor, he continued to be responsible to all this project, initiated this new project. He brought the party into a new dimension we never thought of. He gave the party a place of pride. Introduced so many things that serve as welfare for members of our political party that hitherto we've never gotten such thing. He introduced the monthly meeting. For some time, we've been in crisis in this state, and meetings of political parties of different wards have not been held. Nobody is holding meetings. He had to find a way that we have to go back to the drawing board. He gave every party member a sense of belonging. I think wholly. And if you see the amount of endorsement that he received in a couple of weeks ago, it's so daunting that everyone have almost believed that is the candidate to beat. even though he get into this election very late. He was the last one to contest, to tell the world that he wanted to contest. Because all this while he has always been an obedient deputy governor, even while he was concentrating on the job, until the demise of Mr. Governor, and he took over the reign of leadership. And not until the burial of the former governor, before he declared his intention to run. You see how late he came into the fray. So that was why we saw a lot of aspirants coming out to say they want to contest. It's as good that there's no incumbent, because nobody can wish away the power of an incumbent. How many times has an incumbent been defeated before in a race? And if you have people contesting against the message we've been telling to all the aspirants and their supporters, to reign in the life of their supporters, because often than not, it's these supporters that always go unruly, not the aspirants. The aspirant knows that, all of them knows that it's better to be in a ruling party than to be in the opposition politically. They all know this. And we believe they're all stakeholders in this project. Aiyedatiwa might be the face that he has won, but the likes of Jim O'Brien, who is a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, knows he has equally won. The likes of Odimayo, who is a member of House of Representatives, knows he has equally won. So also the other person who is a House member. And so other stakeholders like Chief Olushola Oki, they are all stakeholders in the bigger in the politics of the progressive. So it beckons on everyone that it's better to retain the state than not to. The benefits are enormous. That we are still in charge in the state. The opportunity will still come for others to grab than we struggling to get back to power. We've been out of the saddle for so long, the progressive in Ondo State, for we to have missed this chance again. So continuity is a key word in this project, and I believe everybody will key into it. So first thing for us is to reconcile all warring parties, to bring them together in a round table as a political party, so that we can start pushing this continuity project to all of them, and they'll go back to their members, so that it could resonate around the state, the party in the state.
Okay, now you've said a lot. Well, let's talk about the messaging of the APC in this upcoming election. Now that Governor Aiyedatiwa has secured the ticket for your party.
Yes, well, it's natural. It's natural for some people to feel aggrieved. A contest of this magnitude, where you are having some 16 heavyweights, slugging it out for the ticket of the party. And you will find some unruly supporters, who wants to express their anger at the end of the day. But the good thing about the whole thing is that we are having all the aspirants, their principal. We are all talking. We felt for we to have a successful mandate, that you want to have a successful ticket, he has to embrace others. And that is what we started this morning. The work I've just started, trying to reconcile all the aspirants that feel aggrieved in one way or the other. So we are trying to bring them under 1 week. And for the next couple of weeks, that will take some time before we could finally realize this ambition of working together. But for now, things are a little bit tense. We understand and we know why. And I can assure you, at the end of the day, we'll find a common ground so that everybody could come together and work for this ticket. Because we're all winners, no matter how you look at it. It's better to be in a party in government than a party in opposition. So we all know this advantage. We know what it entails, and we know what it will bring to us as a political party in Ondo State. And we are working towards that, so that all the aspirants will embrace the winner. That is one task before us as a political party in the state right now.
Honorable Talero, the reason I mentioned messaging is because of the good people of Ondo State, the citizens. After 8 years of APC in power, why should the Ondo people still vote for your party? What is going to be your message to convince the voters to vote for your party?
We have a lot of projects to show for that. You get to the state of Zakura, you see octopus of projects everywhere. The one continuity, we continue to preach that continuity. If progressive returns to power, all these projects will be completed. We've just created 51 local governments. is about to take off. If this government will not return, the next other political party will just disrupt that local government creation, LCDA. Everybody, nearly all the smaller towns, we brought governance closer to the people. In the next few weeks, the governor will roll out the caretaker transition committee for all these local governments, which was created during Akeredolu, but it's about to take off now. These are things we can take to our voters, to electorates, so that they can return us. And they know these are key projects, these are key issues affecting the fabrics, the life of the state. For too long, Ondo State is too big to be having just 18 local governments. So the former governor now created 51 local governments. Nobody wants the local government to be taken away from him. But we know the first thing the new government, if the local government have not started, is to disrupt the whole exercise. So nobody wants that to happen. And this is a message we take to the electorate. And I believe it will resonate with them. Eventually, they will return us. We have a lot of good things to show. We have a track record that speaks. Our pedigree as a progressive party speaks volume. And the fact that they are doing a lot of re-engineering of our economy by Mr. President, and before November, we start seeing results. And as the results start trickling in now. So we'll see a more bigger results come in November before this election. And we believe at the end of it, they will win. By special grace of God, this election will be won by a progressive government. At the same time, Aiyedatiwa will have a shot for his second time in office.
Once again, Honorable Stephen Otalaro, thank you so much for joining us on Politics. Our time is up. We do appreciate your coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our Politics now continues in a short bit. We'll be right back to stay with us. Many thanks for still staying with us on the show. This time around, we want to take a look at the Nigerian economy. The CBN governor and the finance minister were at the United States, the IMF to be precise, to, talk about what they've been doing so far with the Nigerian economy. And we just want to unpack some of the things that they mentioned. So we'll look at talking points. First, which is efforts to stabilize the Naira. Secondly, economic hardship despite Naira gains, and more to do about fresh $2.2 billion World Bank loan. And joining us is just the right person for the job, Dr. Samson G. Simon, economic analyst. Well, a lot has been happening in the Nigerian economy when you look at some of the policies of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You talk about the unification of the exchange rate, removal of fuel subsidy, and of course they talked about the CNG, vehicles that will be unleashed in May, according to the spokesperson of the president, Onanuga. But away from that, let's just examine some of the highlights from the meeting with the IMF. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, said that the Apex Bank is assiduously, trying to achieve a stable foreign exchange rate. Yemi Kadoso, the CBN governor, stated this during a press conference held at the annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank Group. Kadoso said the financial regulator is also working to ensure that exchange rate finds its adequate price discovery level. The CBN governor said the local currency will continue to appreciate against foreign currencies. Well, last week he was interviewed and he, made some comments on some of the things that he has come up with to ensure that the Naira, is working. Let's take a listen to just a few minutes of what he said in that interview. We'll be right back to talk some more.
And then, of course, the next thing in terms of sequencing was to make it abundantly clear that the era of interventions, which really hadn't taken us anywhere, were over. And that I intended to go back to orthodox monetary policy. So I think those were very, very important things to make very clear. And I think that helped, obviously, to set the stage for what came after. It was very important to continue to re-emphasize those things in the process of building trust. Of course, communication was also very key, and it has to also be sequenced. And I know that at the outset, there was concern that one was not saying enough. But there was a strategy to that, because I felt it was important to, at the outset, come out and say things you needed to say when you needed to say them. And I recall that at a particular forum, which was the Chartered Institute of Bankers, which is held on a yearly basis, I used that opportunity to communicate very strongly. And normally, that is a forum that perhaps, the governors talk for maybe 15 minutes, half an hour, and I took over an hour. Okay, but I made sure I got everything, including giving forward guidance with respect to the banking sector, and to let people know that we were going to have a recapitalization exercise. This was in November, and the guidelines didn't come out till just recently. So they had plenty of time to start thinking that through. So these are some of the sequences that we went through. In terms of what kept me, some of the issues that one was concerned about, and how did I approach them and all that, there was a lot of worry with respect to the excess money supply, and one had to take bold measures with respect to mopping up liquidity, and then subsequently, of course, hiking interest rates. And I know that the first monetary policy committee meeting we had, I did a 400 basis point increase, which was unprecedented. But we had to do it. We had to do it. We had no choice.
All right, now away from Kadoso, the CBN governor, the Minister of Finance, Wale Aduna, also disclosed that the federal government is set to receive around $2.2 billion single-digit interest loan from the World Bank and another budget support facility from the African Development Bank. And he was speaking on the sources of international funding to the Nigerian economy. Edun listed diaspora remittances, foreign portfolio investments, and facilities from the World Bank and other international development partners. And Edo also tapped issuing dollar-dominated securities specifically targeted at Nigerians in the diaspora and those with foreign-denominated savings in Nigeria as another measure to attract forex inflows into the country. He further highlighted the efforts of the fiscal side of the economy in complementing the recent monetary policies reforms by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So you can see the Minister of Finance and, of course, the CBN governor working together to get the economy on board. Well, according to the minister, the issuing of government securities at an interest rate closer to the CBN's monetary policy rate is an indication of collaboration between both sides of the economy in tackling inflation in the country and attracting forex inflows. Well, joining us now on politics to discuss the economy on the Tinubu administration is Dr. Samson G. Simon, economic analyst. Doctor, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Nice to be here.
Pleasure is also mine. Well, our government has made efforts to stabilize the Naira. Last week, prior to the last week, we've been saying, the Naira makes some considerable gains. People have been excited. I recall the last time I spoke on the economy on the show, I was concerned for the reality for Nigerians, given the fact that we're seeing Naira drop significantly. It was close to 2,000 and it's now close to 1,000 Naira. Okay, so quite a decrease. But last week we saw the dollar rise a bit, which made the governor to say, okay, we're going to see some ups and downs from time to time. But the question that we asked initially when the Naira started dropping was, is this sustainable? So, Doctor, I'm asking you the same question right now. Do you think this is sustainable?
Well, it has been a roller coaster ride. The Naira almost went under. When the new president came on board in May 2023, the official exchange rate was around 460 to the dollar. And that exchange rate has depreciated to as low as 1,007 on the official exchange rate, on the official exchange market. On the parallel exchange market, it even went as low as 1,009 before it started appreciating. And Nigerians have been jubilating that the Naira has actually appreciated. It has actually is recovering lost ground. However, while the central bank has done a lot of things, we have had flurry of circulars and policies, all in a bid to stem the tide. I don't think what we're doing now is really sustainable. I think what we're doing at best is buying time. Because if you look at it, they have reduced demand on the dollar through policies like the stopping of dollar-denominated collaterals for Naira loans. And they have increased the supply because our interest rates have been hiked by 600 basis points within the span of a month. So thereby attracting foreign portfolio investments. And they have been borrowing money too to ensure that the paucity of FX in the foreign exchange market has ended. But what we need should be fundamental changes within the economy, structural changes. I know those things cannot happen overnight, but in the meantime, what we can do as a matter of urgency is to encourage foreign direct investment. While attracting foreign portfolio investment is good, we need to attract foreign direct investment and other forms of investment. We need to spur our exports. And for a while now, the crude oil and gas have been the mainstay of the FX market. And because of oil theft, that from these sources have basically almost nothing. So there's a need to charge the advisor, the president, and other people of the economic policy need to do something with the central bank to go and tackle insecurity in the oil industry. Then, for exports. And one of the biggest problems we have in Nigeria is inability to export. They almost contribute 50%. The export is 10% of that. Compared to China, where NMSM contributes 6 their weight in contributing almost 70% to export. They need to spur export from NMMM.
All right, Doctor, we've been having issues with your audio. I mean, probably your ear devices, disconnecting with us. But anyways, if you can hear us clearly, should Nigerians be concerned over the Nigerian foreign exchange reserve, which has dipped by about $2.16 billion due to its use to aid the Naira appreciation? I know this last week was, of major concern to economy watchers and who's been monitoring, the foreign exchange market with regards to the Naira and the dollar. But what's your concern regarding this?
Well, when the foreign exchange reserves are dwindling, that calls for concern. The expectation is that as much as possible, the monetary authorities should not be intervening in the FX market unless it's absolutely necessary, and that should only be occasionally done. The central bank governor is on record as saying that the reduction in the FX reserves was not as a result of defending the naira. According to him, was that there were some obligations that the central bank had to meet up with, and that was why the foreign exchange reserves went down by more than $2 billion. So we give him the benefit of the doubt, even though some of us are very skeptical with that, but we don't have any evidence to prove the contrary. So for now, we accept that is because they paid up some loans. And mind you, our FX reserves have a lot of encumbrances on them to the tune of almost everything. Everything has been mortgaged, everything has been collateralized in the foreign exchange reserves. So one should not be absolutely surprised if the central bank governor says that the FX reserves went down because they were trying to meet up with some obligations. I think it's a reasonable explanation, even though we may not absolutely agree with what he's saying, but it's a very reasonable explanation because you use FX, amongst other things, to pay up loans that a particular sovereign is owing.
Okay, Doctor, let's talk about the $2.2 billion loan with one interest rate. That could be exciting for, most people when they hear 1% rate. So what do you make of the announcement from the Minister of Finance regarding this loan?
Well, this is done all in a bid to spur the supply of FX. There has been illiquidity in the FX market in Nigeria for a while. And both the monetary authorities as well as the fiscal authorities have been doing everything possible to attract FX. And, fiscal policy, one aspect of it is about debts. And that's why the Minister of Finance made mention of the loan of $2.25 billion from the World Bank, almost at zero interest because it's just 1%, and to be paid back in 30 years with 10 years moratorium. So there's nothing that is as good as that. So I believe that the money can be used for a lot of things. And one of it is to meet up with obligations. The government has a lot of obligations to meet up with. And this loan will be used to meet up with such obligations. And it's going to help with the liquidity of the foreign exchange market. So that's a good thing about it. But all these things are going to accumulate, make our national debt to balloon. So we have to be conscious of that. As cheap as the loan is, because the interest is next to nothing, that does not mean that we may not be creating problems for ourselves down the line. So everything must be done to ensure that we should not just borrow unless it's absolutely necessary. And when we borrow, we should make sure that we use those loans to do the things that can really pay up those loans, pay up the principals as well, as the interest.
Doctor, I do appreciate the fact that, they are trying their best talking about the collaboration between the finance minister and the CBN governor to ensure that we don't just borrow money anyhow. And given the fact that the interest rate is at 1%, but of course, like you mentioned, it's just going to add to the debt. But in this case, is this necessary? Do you think it's needful that we obtain this loan, even as juicy as the offer stands, given interest rate at 1%?
It's necessary in some aspects, in the sense that we're trying to spur liquidity within the FX market, because if we don't attract as much liquidity as possible, the naira will go under. Another thing is we need a lot of funds too for infrastructure. We have huge infrastructural deficit, and everything should be done to make sure that this infrastructure is the problem of infrastructure is being tackled. But saying we are borrowing money for one reason and actually using the money for the reason for which we have mentioned might not be the same. So we have to make sure that we don't just borrow randomly. We should make sure that any borrowings that we're embarking upon should be strictly be used for the purpose for which we have taken out such loans.
All right. Now, my question, Doctor, is when this loan is used up, what happens next? Are we going to find ourselves borrowing again? And that brings me to the question of internally generated revenue, which is needful. We've got agriculture. We need to move away from crude oil. What is your assessment of government looking, at internally generated revenue to help, shore up, all the needful monies and revenue that is needed for us as a nation?
I think the tax man is on that. The Minister of Finance said they want to increase our tax revenue to GDP ratio to as high as 18%. I know it's easier said than done, but at least they have a goal and they're working towards it. They want to reduce the number of taxes. That's why they set up that Taiwo Oyadelin's committee. And I think they are doing everything humanly possible to raise as much revenue as they can, because that's very necessary. But no matter how much revenue the government can accrue, that does not stop us from borrowing. Some of the countries that have the biggest revenues still borrow money from whether multilateral agencies like the World Bank or even bilaterally from other countries. So it will not stop us from borrowing, but maybe the extent at which you borrow will be reduced. It will only become when it's only necessary that we borrow. So they are doing everything possible. And even for the oil production, I know oil production has been below par. We have not been meeting up with the OPEC quota. They have made it clear that they want to make sure that this output in oil, crude oil in Nigeria, has actually reached the OPEC levels. So I think they are doing a lot, or at least they have been promising us and they have been stating their intentions. They have been giving us forward guidance on how they intend to embark on a lot of things. And for now, I think we should give them the benefit of the doubt. We may not be seeing the results, but we should give them the benefit of the doubt. And let's see how things pan out.
Okay. Talking about giving plus to the government, the Naira is said to be the best performing currency in the world. But most people don't understand the economics of how Naira gains translate to better living conditions. What's your take on this, thought that is just going round about in the country? Because Nigerians are curious to see how the gains from Naira translates into better living conditions. What has been your assessment so far?
Is they don't deserve any praise for the recovery of the Naira. Why do I say so? If somebody is like a child that has inherited his father's house, and then he destroyed that house, the entire house, to a rubble. So because he has built one side of the wall, then people will say that he deserves praise. I feel that doesn't make sense. That doesn't add up. It's their own mess. They have to clean up their own mess. For the central bank governor, I understand, because he inherited the mess. But for this government, they actually caused this mess. So they don't deserve any praise for it. And secondly, people are not actually seeing the impact of the recovery of the Naira so far. The impact is next to nothing. And the impact that people are looking forward to is that prices will come down. Inflation is still climbing, though at a decelerating rate. But it's still climbing. And I know some items have actually come down in price. But because some of these businesses, they have backlog. They have to clear this backlog before they can buy with the new price. And that's when the prices will come down. Somebody said the moment Naira depreciated, prices went up. Yes, because businesses are trying to take advantage of the depreciation of the Naira. Maybe they bought an input at 1,000 Naira. When the dollar was 1,000 when the Naira was 1,000 to the dollar. Now that the Naira has depreciated to 1,009, that's almost twice. They want to take advantage. They quickly increase prices. But let's say from 1,9, that was an increase of 40 prices by 40-something%. When the Naira was exchanged, right? And then when I still have depreciated to almost 2,000 Naira, I will just see that as an opportunity to appreciate the value. If the reverse happens, I'm not going to crash my prices because I'm going to lose, I'm going to make so much loss. So nobody wants to make a loss. So we have to wait for some few months and see how the impact of the appreciation is going to make the lives and the livelihoods of Nigerians better. Because prices are downward sticky, and it's not only in Nigeria, all over the world, prices are downward sticky. And also there is a lag between when something happens to when you actually see the impact. So that's why we're not seeing everything immediately. But we can see some few impacts. Like rice now has reduced in price, even noodles has reduced in price. So some items are actually coming down that we can obviously see the impact of the appreciation of the naira. But for general price level to fall, it may take a few months for that.
Okay, well, we had a few interruptions there with your audio, but all the same, Doctor, thank you so much, for making us understand what's going on in the country. And of course, like I was complaining earlier with other guests I had on the show to talk about the economy, like, okay, the naira is dropping, but we're not seeing significant decrease. But just like you said, we've seen some commodities, just some, not all, we've seen prices go down, but like analysts have said, it's beyond just dollar naira, okay? When you look at the cost of fuel, that could also play a factor also. But we've got to let you go, Doctor. Thank you so much for being with us on Politics Now.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Doctor, that will be it for now. Thank you so much for being with us on the show. We can only hope that we continue to see this trend, where the dollar continues to go down. And I'm optimistic. Who says the dollar cannot, rates with the naira cannot get up to 500 naira to $1? It's possible, but can President Bola Tinubu deliver? That's the big question. Bear in mind that next month, on the 31st of May, it'll mark 1 year since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came into power. So right now there is lots of pressure on the president to deliver. Well, the big question is, can he make a huge difference in just 1 month? Because once it's up to 1 year since the president has been in power, people are not going to take it lightly, in terms of their criticism of his administration so far. Well, we must call it off right now, and that's the much I can take on the show today. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Morno Balagwe. We'll see you next time on Politics Now.